Hi everyone, back again with another ag literacy lesson for you. Today we're going to talk about watersheds. So let's get into today's presentation. So today you're going to need a piece of paper, 3 different colors of washable markers, and then a spray bottle with just tap water in it. Nothing special about the water, just tap water. All right, so not a whole lot of supplies today, just some really simple things. Let's kind of adjust this here. All right, so let's talk about what a watershed is. So when I go into the classroom to teach this, we talk a little bit about watersheds, but we also talk about runoff from fertilizer and pesticides and how those impact our environment if a farmer or producer puts down too much, and how that affects the environments around that farm. So a watershed is just an area in which water, any sediments or dissolved minerals drain into a common body of water. This could be a stream, a creek, reservoir, or a bay. Also could be a river, anything like that. So it includes all the plants and animals and people who live in it, as well as the rocks and soil that make up that watershed. So things that happen in that watershed impact the plants, animals, and the people, as well as the soil and the soil quality. And like that last point, we are all a part of the watershed, and we all impact or affect what the surface and groundwater, what happens to that surface and groundwater that runs through that system. So that's a little bit about watersheds, and that typically when I do this in a classroom, we draw a picture and we talk about, you have a farm up on a hill, it rains, the crops are planted, the farmer has put too many pesticides on, and then how that pollution impacts maybe a pond or the wildlife around that pond. So that's another way to think about it. So for this activity, we're going to start with the first step, and this is my favorite step in this whole process, seeing the kids' faces when I tell them to take their sheet of paper, that is perfectly good sheet of paper, and to just crumple it up into a ball. And you're going to want to crumple it up kind of tight. A lot of kids, if we do this in the winter, ask if we're going to have a snowball fight, because that looks like what we're making, but you're going to crumple it up in a ball, and then you're going to gently pull it apart. Like step 2 says, we're going to flatten the paper some, but not all the way. You want them to have some high spots. And I'm going to come up here close to my camera, and I'm not going to flatten it any more than this. This actually turned out fairly well. I'm going to stretch it and pull it a little bit, but I'm not going to flatten anymore. I want to see those ridges and low spots, okay? Those high spots and low spots. So I'm going to set this off to the side here quick. We're going to get 3 markers. I've got some colors here. You want to stay away from colors that are very similar. So don't use pink and red. If you've got pink and red, try to stick with some colors that have some contrast to them. So I'm going to use green, blue, and orange today. I'm going to choose one color, so I'm going to start with orange, and I'm going to use this to shade high spots. So you don't want to color too super hard. I'm going to try to hold this up to the camera here and just kind of gently put some color on, there we go, on this high spot. And I'm going to do that across the entire paper wherever there's a high spot. I've got several here. And you don't want to go too heavy on your color or color in too much of the paper. Try to back, there we go. So you can kind of see this here, and we'll go over on these other parts of the paper too. All right, so we have all of those filled in. You don't, and like it says, don't color too hard so you don't smash the paper. We want to have those contrasting high and low places. So step 4, we're going to take a different color. I'm going to use blue for this. And then we're going to shade all of the spots or fill in all of the spots where rivers, streams, lakes, any of those low spots would be in this landscape. I'm going to do that, and then I'll show you, again, not pressing super hard in those spots, but you'll have noticeable low spots where that has happened in your paper. Okay, so I'll hold it up here, the camera's adjusting. So just getting in those really, really low spots. Look at my paper, I kind of have a valley that comes right through my landscape. And so this last step, so step 5, you're going to take your third color, whatever that third color is, and make 5 X marks anywhere on the paper. And I'll explain what those X marks are after we complete step 6. So no clues as to what they are. If you've done this activity before, don't tell your siblings what the X's are and give it away. But we're going to do 5 X's somewhere on the paper. And they can be anywhere you choose. Again, not pressing too super hard so we don't ruin our landscape. So I've got my, I've got 5 X's on here. There we go, camera's adjusting. It's got 5 X's there. All right, so we're gonna take our spray bottle of just plain tap water, and we're gonna gently spray the water on our high parts, our high peaks of our paper. It may take a few seconds for the water to soak in, and then the color there will start to run. We'll start to show you where in your landscape does all of that water coming from those high mountain peaks, melting, rain, anything like that, where does it flow to, okay? I'm going to do this off to the side here. You don't want to spray super that your paper is falling apart by the end, but you do want to get it damp enough that your paper is starting to run, the color is starting to run, and as you see, that orange is starting to run down into those spots that we have filled in with blue. So that is where this particular watershed runs to. I will also put a link in the description box down below that has a link from the U.S. Department of Agriculture where you can find what your watershed is and where in your local area your water flows to. So that is what it looks like. And the X's, so the X's represent our cities and towns in our landscape. So if I look at mine, 2 of my towns were completely covered in water. And then this one up here in the corner kind of got water in it as well. So this opens up a discussion that we have in my ag classes about building and how the pioneers chose their building sites and how we have improved how we choose those sites. So just some questions to think about. What changes did you observe in your map? So what happened to the colors after that water soaked in? Where on that map did most of that water or rain fall? So it fell on the high peaks, and then what path did it take to get to those lower peaks? What path does that water follow? What happens to your human settlements? So your towns, your X's that you've put in there, are any of the buildings that you put on there in the way of a river or a hillside that might crumble because of erosion and too much water all at once. And then also, how does the flow of the water through your watershed affect your choice of site, building sites? Like I said, we talked about this quite a bit in my second grade ag literacy classes, and how our founders or the pioneers had to haul their water for their livestock, their crops, and for their families. So a lot of them built towns and settlements near water. But we know that now, because of the technology changes and evolution in our society, we don't have to be as close to water, and we can kind of think about those building sites a little better and a little more thoroughly when thinking about flooding or rainfall. And then this lesson was actually adapted from Nebraska Ag in the Classroom. So thank you to them for allowing Extension to adapt this lesson. And like I said, the link to find out what watershed your town or county is in is going to be in the description box below. I hope everybody has enjoyed today's lesson, and I hope you guys are doing well and are staying safe and healthy. Talk to you soon.